You have been at your company for 2 or 3 years. You are the person people come to when something breaks. You train the last 2 new hires, and you know every system and workaround that nobody bothered to document. Then one day, by accident, you find out what someone else makes. The number is $14,000 more than yours. They have the exact same title, the same team, and less experience. You have been there since before the last restructuring, and they make $14,000 more than you. Suddenly, that 3% raise you got in January, the one your manager called solid, does not feel solid anymore. It feels like a slap because the people who approved it could see the gap in the data, and they gave you 3% anyway. Welcome to Marcus vs. the machine. That sick, sinking feeling in your stomach is not an accident. The pay structure is working exactly the way it was built to work. Today, we are decoding the loyalty penalty, the illusion of the raise negotiation, and exactly why your company pays you less the longer you stay. You went into your annual review meeting believing the conversation could change the outcome. You prepared, you documented your wins, and you waited for the right moment because you thought the meeting was where the decision got made. It wasn't. In most structured organizations, the raise conversation is not a negotiation, and it is not an evaluation. It is a confirmation ritual. The organization arrives having already confirmed what it will allocate, and you arrive having prepared a case for a decision that was made weeks before you walked in. The format of the conversation exists because participatory processes are more stable than ones that feel imposed. Your manager could sound completely supportive in every one-on-one for 6 months, genuinely mean it, and still deliver a number that does not reflect your effort. Compensation decisions are made in calibration meetings that close before individual conversations even open. Budget allocations are finalized in discussions between managers, HR, and finance that employees are never part of. By the time you sit down across from your manager, your number has already moved through approvals you did not know were happening. The primary constraint in that process is not your performance record. It is organizational stability. When a manager adjusts compensation, they are moving a number inside a pay structure, and that number exists in relationship to every other number around it. If your raise pushes you significantly above a peer doing comparable work, the organization now has an internal equity problem. Resolving it requires either additional spending or creating a precedent that complicates future distributions. So, the manager who privately believes you deserve more approves a smaller number, not because they are inconsistent, but because they are solving a different problem. They are asking what they can adjust without triggering a cascade they cannot control. Meanwhile, someone hired 8 months ago earns more than you for equivalent work. This is not because the organization values them more, but because they were priced at the current market rate today, and you were priced 3 years ago at a lower number. Every annual increase since has simply been a percentage of that original figure. This is the loyalty penalty. The gap between what you currently cost and what it would cost to replace you widens steadily every year you stay. Here is what the company knows that you do not. Loyal employees are the cheapest people in the building to keep. They stop negotiating, they stop creating urgency, and they stop operating like someone the company could actually lose. You become a known quantity, and known quantities do not get market rate raises. They get cost of living bumps and are thanked for their patience. Patience, in corporate terms, is just another word for discounted labor. You were taught that job hopping looks bad, and that stability signals professionalism. So you stayed, and while you stayed, the market moved. Entire salary ranges recalibrated around you, and you lost your negotiating position. Listen to the language used when the answer is no. Phrases like "we'll revisit next cycle," "there's no budget," or "you're important to the team" have a stabilizing function. They allow the conversation to feel bilateral, keeping you oriented toward the next cycle rather than toward departure. When they say the budget is set, what they really mean is that they would prefer not to pay you more. When they say they do not negotiate on base salary, they are locking in a suppression that pays off for years, because base salary compounds over your entire career. The truth is, raises are retention decisions, not performance processes. The system responds to departure risk. A manager's core operational incentive is team stability, and losing a member creates recruiting costs, productivity gaps, and the risk that a replacement costs more than the current employee. When the organization believes an employee is likely to leave, the business case for a compensation exception becomes internally defensible. This is exactly why external offers produce outcomes that internal advocacy rarely does. An external offer changes the organization's model of your departure probability, and suddenly, budget that was not available becomes available. That discretion was there before the offer arrived. The offer simply changed the conditions under which the organization would use it. The employees who receive massive raises without extended campaigns are generally not the strongest performers on the team. They are the employees whose departure would be disruptive, visible, and difficult to explain. The system moves for them because their absence would create a problem the organization cannot absorb at that moment. Most employees walk into a raise meeting trying to answer one question: why do I deserve more? The organization is listening for the answer to a different question entirely. What are you going to do? You thought you were making a case, but you were actually being observed for a signal in a conversation designed to look like a negotiation. They are looking for either acceptance or instability. If you want to break this trap, you need to change how you operate. First, stop keeping your salary a secret. Companies tell you salary secrecy is about professionalism, but in practice, it overwhelmingly works as employer protection. It keeps you from ever having enough information to push back. The labor market is one of the few places where one side holds almost all the pricing data, and the other side is told that asking for it is inappropriate. In the United States, the National Labor Relations Act protects most private sector employees' right to discuss pay with each other. When pay becomes visible, gaps shrink. Second, stop anchoring your requests to your current salary. Your next offer should be priced off the market value for the role, not off a percentage bump on a number that was already too low. Research your market rate using databases that show what companies actually pay for specific roles. Finally, build leverage that exists outside your current role. Every year you do not interview externally, you lose calibration. You stop knowing what title you would command and what salary range you would clear. In the absence of that information, you accept their version of your value, which is always lower. Loyalty without reciprocity is not integrity. It is just submission with better marketing. Your silence is their margin, and your uncertainty is their leverage. Every day you wait for fairness that isn't coming, you are bankrolling a pay structure that was built from the ground up to make sure you never have enough information to know what you are actually worth. If you want to master the unwritten rules of corporate America and survive the machine, hit subscribe. This is Marcus vs. the Machine. Stay sharp.